Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. My name is Rob Curtis. I'm here in the Cymet studio, joined with someone who's chewing. That would be Leah Sanda. She's trying to get her lunch in there real quick. And remotely, we have
Tim Strelecki. Hello, everybody.
And we are one day after. Is it 1 day or 2 days after Door Van Vlorden Vlagen?
Day after.
Day after.
It's day after.
And Tim, for those that aren't watching it, is wearing a Wout Van Aert shirt in support.
Support my guy.
Because apparently everyone's taking a shit on Wout. I'm not.
He's human, you know. It's just it's how I can't imagine the pressure the guy feels. I mean, he's got the weight of a nation on his shoulders, and they're just dying for him to win. You know, he's had such bad luck over the span of 2 years. You know, he's been eclipsed by Van der Poel several times, and Remco came out of nowhere, doubled up in the Olympics, so he's like the Belgian hero. You know, I've always been a Wout fan and always will be.
I mean, I have to wonder if what's going on with him right now is, was it just, I mean, it seems like did you just turn down my, it seems like it's more than just like, more than he's not firing on all cylinders physically. Like, yeah, there could be something at play where maybe he's either not peaking yet, but he's just not. It almost makes me think that there's something going on upstairs.
I can speak a little bit too.
Yeah, a little. I mean, even somebody at his level has to be still human in the sense that you get in your head. And when you start having other people's expectations upon you, as opposed to racing from your heart, you start to make mistakes, and you start to doubt yourself. You start to lose confidence, and then you make more mistakes, and it starts to kind of snowball.
Well, here is how I can relate a little bit. Not that I ever was or ever will be ever on the level that he is on. But from my experience when I was racing BMX professionally, you know, every year the class gets faster and faster and faster, right?
Right.
You know, everyone's skill set gets better, guys get stronger, new blood comes in, the class just naturally gets faster. That's what's happening with professional cycling, right? Everyone's getting faster. The races are harder for longer periods of time, which he was accustomed to. Then you have the first crash. Right? So he stays here, or he goes down from where he was while everyone goes like this. The class climbs up in strength and speed and tactics, so he's got to make up that gap, and he makes up the gap, right? And then he's firing on all cylinders, and then boom, he crashes again. Now it's twice as hard to get back to the level that everyone is on, or everyone was at and going to, or at. So the gap is even harder to close, and it's mentally exhausting. It's physically exhausting. There's so much that goes into it. And that's what happened with me. Like, it happened twice to me. And the last time it happened when I broke my leg and I was laid up in the hospital, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I banged my head against the wall so many times trying to get back to the level that the professional BMX class was at the time. I just was like, I threw in the towel. I was like, I'm done. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's anywhere near that mindset. He's got a great family. He's got a great support system. His teammates believe in him. His management team believes in him. So I think he'll get back there. It's just going to take time. The only thing that sucks is, I'd imagine the Belgian press is pretty damn harsh, as is all sporting critics. Everyone's quick to poo-poo on someone when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's mentally exhausting.
I mean, when they were done with that, they were doing the podium. I mean, did you hear the cheers for him though? It was deafening.
I didn't watch the podium. I tried to catch the race live when I was on the trainer. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Flow.
And then I don't have a flow account. So I watched highlights of it, and I was actually like shocked. I saw a little bit of when the Wout and his teammates broke away from the field, caught the field and whatnot. And I saw the end, and I was literally shocked. I was like, wow. On one hand, I felt really bad for Wout and the rest of those guys, but on the other hand, I mean, Nielsen played it
Yep.
perfectly.
Yeah, 100%.
Played
Yeah,
it
how do you
perfectly.
do that? You know, how do you get in a break with those three heavy hitters on that team, and you still pull off the win at the end?
Because they didn't do what they should have done. Absolute textbook. Starting 5K to go, they should have started attacking and counterattacking until they got rid of him, which would have probably also gotten rid of one of the three.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have mattered. They just needed one of the three to win. The mistake, which Wout admitted to, was that he wanted to win. And he put the kibosh on that so that they could all stay together for the sprint. And it was a bad calculation. And as he admitted, a selfish ploy on his part, and he was very disappointed in himself. And I was actually a little teared up listening to his interview, because it takes so much courage to sit there on camera and not just, he started talking about, well, I cramped, and I just thought, okay, it's going to be the cramp excuse. And then he really got brutally honest, and it was like, wow, okay, that took a lot of courage.
Well, that's the thing I want to see as a fan of sporting events is when the chips don't go your way or fall your way, take ownership of it,
Right.
and be real and give us the real answer. Don't give me a laundry list of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I don't care about that. If you tell me you cramped or whatever, I'm okay with that. Like, that happens.
Yeah.
It's happened to all of us. Just give me the honest answer.
We always
I don't
want humans as our heroes in
Yeah.
sport.
And I'm not saying I doubt his cramp, and that could have been the reason why he lost the sprint. But bottom line is, it should never have come down to a sprint to begin with between the four of them.
No, they could have probably, like you said, Leah, 5K, 7K out, shelled, Nielsen.
Absolutely. There's no reason why they
Perhaps,
shouldn't have been able to.
Perhaps.
I mean, I
I
cannot see that he would have been able to withstand them constantly firing people up the road until they broke him. I cannot see that they couldn't have done that.
The combination of Jorgensen and Tish Benoot and Wout, all three of them could have cracked him pretty damn quick.
Right.
I would imagine, with their attacks. But it didn't happen, like you said. Wout got selfish, and that happens. Every bike race, it's bike racing. Everyone's selfish.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I don't want to say it's a meaningless race, but it's certainly not one of the important ones.
No, I think it's not, but I think for Wout, it is, because of what happened a year ago.
Yes.
If you could be lying on your deathbed, dying in agonizing pain, not deathbed, but if you could be in that much pain after an event that took place 365 days prior and come back and win it, Belgium would have blown up.
Right.
Even if it's just, a B-level semi-classic, I think is what they call it. But I don't know, this could go one of two ways. I mean, it could really hurt him for the coming weeks, or for the Holy Week coming up, or it could really fire him up.
When is Holy Week? Does it start this weekend?
Flanders Sunday, and then Paris-Roubaix
the other. Yep.
Yeah. So time will tell how he's affected.
Yeah.
If he's able to just shake it off as just another bike race and a missed opportunity, he might come out firing. But if it lingers with him and really eats him up mentally, it might do some damage. I think what'll maybe do him some good is if in the races coming up, if and when Van der Poel and Tadej start attacking each other, he's able to hang in there. That'll boost his confidence big time.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens.
I hope it happens. If it doesn't, I mean, it could simply just be that he needed a little bit more. The cake needed baked in the oven a little bit more in terms of his recovery.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah.
I think my opinion is too much time at altitude. I know altitude does good. I've never had an altitude camp. I've never benefited from an altitude camp, but I think racing your peers in the slugfest style racing that classics racing is, that's the best training you could do.
Yeah.
Because you get a sense of how your competition is riding
Yeah.
currently. Like you're isolated in the mountains with 2 other guys. That's great and all, and you're getting high altitude training while these dudes are down at sea level or a little above, kicking the shit out of each other.
Mhm.
You're not getting that in the mountains.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's reports saying he's timid. He's not willing to risk as many things because he's got a beautiful family. Who knows? We're not him. We're not in his inner circle. We could speculate all we want, but I just want to see him bounce back. And it was starting to happen at the Vuelta, and then unfortunately he crashed again.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for double Mont Ventoux Wout to arise again,
Right. Same.
which he will.
It'll be fun. I would like to see
Yeah.
it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, do a quick recap. You didn't race last weekend, did you?
Did not.
Tim, you didn't race,
We-
did you?
Audubon.
We talked about that last week. Oh no, Audubon? No, I
No.
did not. No,
No, I
stay
just
far away from
in
that.
general.
Nope. The next one for me will be Barry Roubaix.
Um,
Are you, what distance are you doing this year?
62.
Yeah. No more 100?
No, not that I won't do the 100. I just don't have. I did it. This winter wasn't like the winter prior where I had a ton of outdoor miles in my legs. I think I hit the driftless like 3 or 4 times before Barry, so I had a lot of like good quality outdoor training in my legs. So I felt I was confident for the Barry 100, but not this year. And it'll probably work against me because the 62 is the highly competitive field, and it's just gonna be a death march for 62 miles.
Yeah.
well,
You know.
I want to hit. We'll hit Barry prep basically like next week, and we'll do a recap of Rough Road. So we got Rough Road coming up this weekend. We did have. I did jump out and jump in a crit this last weekend, and thanks to everyone
Nice.
who listened, who mentioned something about seeing me out there. And I don't know, in my own head, I was just kind of thinking, like we said, it's good training. And I
Mhm.
will say it was really good training for that. I mean, I never would have ridden that hard unless I had been in a race environment, and that's for sure. But, just for the quick recap, it went exactly how I thought it would go. I died a million deaths in like 5 seconds and, was crapped out the back. But, that's not exactly fair. The start line, for the first time in my known history, I was not able to get in a pedal, and not just for a little bit. Like, wasn't able to get in, pedaled like a bunch, and then went to go get in, couldn't get in, pedaled a bunch more, and then physically looked down, put my foot in there, didn't go, and I had to do that twice to finally get into the pedal. By the time I was there, I was already on the back of the pack, and that
Wow.
hurt. And but crits are crits, so you get the nice little flow. And
Yeah.
after that calmed down, I was able to move up every time they stalled into the wind. And was able to pass that information on to at least one teammate. Hey, now's when you move up. And got into a decent position, I thought, but it was still too far back. I knew I was too far back for that lap. I was hoping to move up on the second lap, and then there was a wreck right in front of me in a double turn. And that's one of those where I thought I was getting got by that one. And, I was full on brakes, both of them, wiggled around it, and then it was just head down and hammer because I knew I had to do that. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get back on. And I didn't. I mean, they were just hanging out there, a good 75 feet in front of me. And that might as well have been 5 miles in that wind out there. So I didn't make a full lap connected, but I stayed at it. I wanted to drop out after that lap, stayed at it, finished it out, and was hurting in places I haven't hurt in a long time. considering that's only the third time I think I've ridden that road bike in like 6 months or 8 months. It wasn't too awful bad, but man, that bike is fast. Getting on those bikes makes you remember that road bikes are really, really fast compared to gravel bikes. So yes, gravel bikes are slow, guys.
Sounds like you need to put mountain bike pedals on your road bike.
That I don't know. Yeah. I did notice I was on the trainer a couple days before, and I noticed it was kind of hard to get one of my feet in, and it must have been my left because that's what I have to clip in with. And I've never been that guy, and now I was, so I've got that going for me. But it felt even better when we got done, and everyone's recapping all the racing, and I'm like, yeah, it got caught behind the wreck, and everyone's like, what wreck? Because it was too far back for 90% of the people to even realize it happened.
I'm surprised there was a crash on that course. It's wide as the freeway.
But it had been raining off and on all morning, and there was wet stuff, and it's just one of these where you don't know what that rubber that's on the road, if it's going to be super sticky or super slick.
It is super slippery. The first year they ever had a race down there, it was wet, and I raced it, and I slid out, and I was just like, why am I sliding? And it's like, oh, racetrack, slippery, when wet. Yeah,
and it was a double turn, and it was a kid in front of me, and he was just leaning, and he wasn't doing anything outrageous, and wheels just slid out under him, and then he took another guy out, and they did the spinning, wheel of death, and it started sliding my way, and it's like, no, get around him. But it's funny how quick the crit instincts kick back in, and I knew I was in the wrong place. I knew I was too far back. I knew there was a risk of that happening. Sure enough, it happened, and then I got to ride it all out alone. So, yay, that's done. I did my race. I'm good for a while. I might do another crit at some point this year, but it's going to have to be like the one we did last year at South Chicago or something. But so we're looking at Rough Road this weekend coming up.
Yeah.
Rough Road being a mix of, really, it's a road race. I've only raced it once. You guys have raced it many more times than me. I've only done the short course. I'm only doing the short course again. And even just from that first time of doing it, I'm kind of split on what I want to do. I'm kind of out there with what I want to do because it really is a road race, in my opinion.
If I were you, I'd ride your road bike.
I don't want to ride my road bike.
What are your thoughts, Tim, on that? Because with all the rain that we've had and more coming tomorrow, is it? I'm not.
I'd ride your road bike with the fattest tires you can put on it.
Would a 30 be okay?
I think so.
Even on the canal trail when it's wet.
Yeah, it's not gonna. I don't know how much rain they got down there. I mean, we got soaked pretty hard by me.
Pretty hard yesterday, yeah.
I mean, it's a crapshoot unless you're able to get down there tomorrow and check it out. I think for me personally, I would just ride a road bike.
Yeah, if you want to be competitive, I think that's where it is.
Yeah, I would ride a road bike with 30s or 32s if you could fit 32s.
For me, I think I'm going to stay with my gravel, but I'm thinking about putting my 55 millimeter road wheels on there, and then putting cross Limas. Not Limas. Jesus. What am I thinking?
File treads.
Chicanes.
Yeah.
Chicanes on there.
You found 34s.
33s. They're 33.
Or 33, sorry.
So deep carbon wheels and 33 millimeter tires. I'm thinking about doing it just because it's going to be gusting up to 20 plus mile an hour, though.
You might want to go with a shallow rim. Don't go with a 55.
I don't know, man.
55, if you go with a shallow in the front and a 55 in the back.
I don't know that I have that, though.
Yeah, if you have like a 34, put that on in the front and put on your 55 in the back. You'll get blown all over the place. Don't run your bird wheels.
Well, that's the thing. It's either my bird wheels or my 55. So
then just go with your 55s.
Which is what I think I may do anyway. They're just so damn fast. Getting on them last few days, it was like, oh God, they really are fast. So I'm kind of tempted to want to do that. That, and I can throw other tires on them, and I don't have to worry about shit for a while. So That's my bet. That's where I'm going. What are you thinking? Now I'm doing the short course, so
More so than tires. I mean, they do make a fact. They play a role for sure. But bring your bike that has the most gear.
top end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what's making. I was thinking about doing my cross bike for a while, but it's
Bring
geared too
your
low.
bike that has. If you got a 2x, bring that.
Oh yeah.
You know, road gearing if you have it. You know.
Yeah, between my I took my cyclocross bike and threw a 2x on it so that it's got really good gearing for road. So I've got good gearing on both bikes. It really comes down to the fact that I'm feeling super lazy about tires, and I've got 30s on my road bike and I've got 40 fast rolling 45s on my gravel setup.
So you're doing 30s.
So I'm just like, I don't want to have to change tires. I just want to choose between one of the two.
Bikes.
And you got the same size
It's a-
rotors. You know, you always got to worry about that. You got the same axle standard, so you should be able to swap.
Here's what I would say. I wouldn't worry about the only part of that course I would take into consideration is Mine Road. That long 2-track stretch that comes at like mile 18.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 8 miles long. That is always dead into a headwind. It's usually really, really chunky. That's the part of the course that I would I wouldn't lean my whole setup to it towards that portion of the course because it's just a small portion of the course. But if I had to weigh between Mine Road and the Canal Trail, I'd want to be faster on Mine Road than the Canal Trail. So I would run. It's a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
You know, it really is because I think Mine Road can and will be much more of a challenge than the Canal Trail.
Yeah.
The Canal Trail, you usually have a tailwind. It's usually pretty solid. It can get a little greasy,
Mm-hmm.
but the undersurface of the Canal
Yeah.
Trail can be
But
pretty
it's not
compact.
chunky. It's not rutted. There's no
No.
potholes. It's just,
No. You
it's
just
either going to
gotta,
be, it's crushed limestone. It's either going to be soft or hard, just depending on how dry it is.
yeah, just float from the left to the right and find if you're on the right-hand side and it seems a little slow, hop over and go to the left and see how that is.
Right.
Provided you have space between, if it's just you and there's
Right.
nobody around and you can move around. But I think Mine Road is, in essence, will be harder than the Canal Trail.
Right. Yeah. So I'm still thinking about it. I'll decide.
Well,
So where is you're saying Mime Road? Where is
Mine Road? It's like mile 18 or something, somewhere around there. It's the
I don't
longest
think you're.
westerly stretch.
This is yours.
Oh.
So
That's-
you get on it in Verona then, basically?
I don't know what town
Yes,
you get in on
West
it.
Mine Road. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's long.
I don't think I have it in mine.
He's doing the 64.
Oh, I do have it. Yeah.
You have like half of it.
Yes. Yeah. And then
you
we
turn
turn
and go
north.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I do remember
the
it.
62 goes straight.
And it's the only
Yeah.
real gravel out there beside the last path.
There can be a few other sections that have in the past they laid fresh down in the days before, which can really screw you if you're on more of a road setup. But you'll make it up. Like when I did it 2018. I did it on a full on road setup.
Yeah.
28s at like 75 psi. I knew nothing about it, so I just went for it, and I lost every time we hit deep gravel. I got spit out the back, but 2 minutes later, once we got off of it, I was back at the front.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put too much. I wouldn't overthink it.
Yeah.
Go with the setup you feel most comfortable with, and just roll it.
Right.
And just do
Right.
it.
Right.
Don't overthink it. It's a what is it in your calendar? A C level race, a B level race?
Yeah. Totally. See.
Yeah, it's
Well, B maybe. I don't know.
there.
I've had such a weird year. I don't really know what my racing is going to look like or where my head is right now. So, yeah.
Just go out and ride your
I
bike
just
and
want to
don't
go.
worry.
I'm just going to let the race come to me and see how it rolls.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
I
are you
mean,
guys supposed to have a lot of wind?
sustained. What did you say? Like
Gusting
10
to
12?
20, but sustained like 11.
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
not bad.
That's not bad at all. The only other portion that might kick you if you run a skinny setup is Cujo Hill and whatever condition that's in.
Right.
The last couple of years, it's been, there's been a 1 or 2 solid lines where there's no gravel and you can get up it relatively quick. But if it's chunky and sluggish, you're gonna want gear there.
Right.
But
yeah,
other than that,
I am looking forward to it. I love the whole team competition that they're doing this year, sponsored by BMC.
Yeah.
Thank you, BMC. It I think has brought a lot of excitement to the women's race. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Nice. Yeah.
And we have a separate start. We're going off, I think, 2 minutes behind the men. Last year they had us go off first, and then we just got you get swarmed with the men, which I don't mind because then you're like wheels, jump on them, right? But now I think we're truly. I mean, we will catch some of the men on the backside, but obviously they're not going to be men we're going to be working with if we're catching them. So I think we might actually get a more legit women's race out of this.
Don't think that those men you catch won't sit on your wheel.
They will.
They will. I'm just, and I'm like, if we're catching them, I don't know how much help they could be for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Did you hear that the Lifetime Grand Prix put out a new rule that there's
No drafting.
Out of category drafting?
But how are they
going to enforce
monitoring
it?
that?
Yeah.
They're not going to because there's no referee riding next to them.
Yeah.
So they're relying on competitors to tattle on each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which always goes over well.
I mean, I think the women now finally in that series have a designated their own start, so they can micromanage that a little better. The women's field,
right?
And I'd like to think that the women's field will be a little more honest with each other than the men's field would be.
Yeah, they are.
Men's races are just dicks. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah. So that's. Is there anything else going on this weekend? Race-wise?
Race-wise, I don't.
Anywhere else?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, nothing off the top of my head.
There was the races this last weekend, the cross races. I didn't hear about how they went. They seemed to go okay. Our man Jimmy ended up on a podium, so
I saw that.
They must have been pretty easy.
He kept blowing my phone up with pictures, and I was just like, okay, good. I told him, I was like, reverse psychology, it worked. See, you went.
Yep.
And then I got the podium picture of him, and then and the first thought, this is so bad, Jimmy, I'm sorry if you're listening, but my first thought was like, oh, only 3 people went?
Yeah. That's what we both said. So apparently there was 3 in his race.
Love you, Jim. I'm glad he got out there to race.
Absolutely.
I've heard that he's been really consistently riding this year and trying to come back. So the big comeback.
Yeah,
so.
He says he's
That's good.
He says he's sorry. I have a billion horrible jokes running through my head based on what she just said. I'm just not going there. He says he's been on the trainer pretty much all year. So that's pretty neat. I'm looking forward to riding with him and getting him out there. But it's been hard. The weather's been difficult. I don't know. You guys are probably getting out, or you're getting out, Tim, I'm sure. But I've been trying to get out. I've been getting out here and there, but it's tough at times for sure. I wanted to go today, but today's still too damn cold, really, in my opinion, to get out there. I'm sure you did, 70, 80 miles today or something?
No, I did trainer work today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did a threshold interval yesterday.
A threshold.
Well, it was recommend. Well, you kept telling me I needed to do them, and then I got on my bike and Garmin went, "We recommend a threshold workout," and they had one laid out, and I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a shot," even though I know the route I'm taking, it's horrible timing. It wouldn't line up well at all, and it didn't. But I did it, and it was 3 by 6 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
With like 4 minutes off or something in between, or 3 minutes off in between. So, which was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. So I did a workout. Yay me.
You did all of those intervals?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why
okay.
wouldn't I? It was
Because
just
I
three-
thought you said you did one.
No, it's a threshold workout.
Okay,
Whatever.
Gotcha.
So I did a interval workout, I will say.
Good for you.
So I got that going for me. Oh, and if you look at Race Predictor for this weekend, a lot of fun because it's got it doesn't. I don't know which one it's pulling. I think it's from Cross Predictor or something maybe. I don't know which one it's using to predict it, but there's like 300 people in my field or something like that, or no, like 170 in my field. I think there's like 300 in the 100K field. It can't rank anybody it doesn't have data for, or doesn't have a USAC license or whatever. So there's only
makes sense.
There's only like, I don't know, like 30 people ranked in it.
Yeah.
And it's got me coming in. I didn't know that at first. I just pulled it up and looked, and it's got me coming in like 18th or something like that. And I was like, wow, holy crap. Maybe I'll have a really good race. And then I started scrolling, and it's like undefined. Oh, crap. There's the vast majority, 130 people, there's no data for. So it's completely worthless thing. Unless you're in the USAC, 100 field, if you're looking at that. I'm sure that's okay. They should do a USAC short one. I'll do the USAC short one. They do that, but whatever. Yeah, I know.
No, not enough people are going to buy a license.
No, for sure. But if you have it open and USAC, kind of like they do now, they have an open 100.
Yeah, right. Which is always the big one. It's always the big one.
Yeah, I would assume. Are you? I'm sorry, I missed it. Are you actually racing it this weekend?
No.
Yeah, because you were talking like you weren't.
Nope.
So you're focusing on Barry then?
Yeah. I don't know if not racing it will do me well, or if I were to race it, if it would do me well. I have no idea, but I'm skipping it because I've raced twice already.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I don't even know that if I didn't race this year yet, if I would still do it. It's a weird dynamic. And like I was telling Leah before we got on, it's not a course that suits me.
And why do you say it doesn't suit you? Just because it's wide open road the whole time, or what?
It's built for dudes that can hold 350 watts for
FTP
hours.
test, yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And then it doesn't get hard until you get on the backside. And I use the term hard loosely. That's where the elevation comes.
I don't know.
If you look at me, I'm not someone that thrives when it comes to a watt contest unless it's going uphill.
Well, they do have, so they are running this off of road results, I believe. So they have Melissa Zamet.
Makes sense.
On our team predicted coming in first.
Yes, I saw that.
That's impressive.
Interesting.
And then you're coming in 7th.
How dare you, Leah?
And our newest addition, Amelia, is going to come in 14th, right in front of Katie. Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not putting a lot of stock in this one.
No.
You should never put stock in the race predictor.
The cross one is interesting. It can tell you something about the race, but that's it.
It's just points.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I don't really pay any attention to those things.
I don't either. I do them for a laugh.
It's okay for me. I enjoy it on the cross side where there's actually some decent data.
You're also the guy that's taking training advice from a Garmin watch.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised.
Speaking of which, did you hear that there's a new Garmin Plus? I don't know if you guys Garmin Connect Plus. Have you heard about this?
I did.
So
they're
No.
trying to go
they're
compete
going
with
subscription.
Strava.
They're going full on subscription. They're never going to compete. Now, it's interesting. I would love to go back through our podcast, and hear all the times that I've talked about Strava and the things I've said good and or bad about Strava, because I've completely done a 180 since this podcast has started. That's for sure. But I have a little bit of a life. I don't have enough time to actually go back and listen to that many hours of me talking. I know I'm egotistical, but I'm not that egotistical. But it would be interesting. They can't beat Strava. They can't compete with Strava, in my opinion, when it comes to what Strava does that they do well. Now, what do they do well? I mean, Tim, you don't like it. You don't use it.
I haven't had Strava for 5+ years.
Yeah. And
I think it's the Facebook of cycling.
it kind of is, but that's interesting. We've talked about it. I don't look through and look at everybody else's rides, though. I think it's really just so that I can log a ride, put some pictures on it, and congrats, kudos, my buddies that went with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm on looking at that, I will look at other people's rides, and if it's a cool ride, it's like, give it a thumbs up.
If you went on a ride with a bunch of people and you couldn't just tell them, "Hey, nice ride" at the end of the ride, you have to go onto their Strava to tell them nice ride.
It's nice to throw it in.
Or do you tell them nice ride and then you tell them nice
ride on Strava? That's how that goes.
Got to get those
Well,
kudos.
but not only that, though. Let's face it. There are some people on some rides that you don't see at the end of the ride.
True.
Sometimes
Good
that person
point.
is me. So a lot of people, they've already left the
we've all
parking
been-
lot by the time I get there, and they're like,
We've all been there.
after the fact, they're like, "Hey, nice ride. Wish I could have seen you more." But you suck.
Good point.
So they do it well. They do that well. What I really like is I don't like it when I'm not informed, so I don't really care. But when I have a decent form, or I think it's a weird weather day, I got a great tailwind, I do like to see how I've done on a particular climb. And I like to see how I've done in a particular section. Am I getting faster? Hey, that felt way better this time. Is it actually
You're like
faster?
every other person.
Yeah, I like to see it. I do like to see the data.
You just threw yourself under the bus.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll have a nice tailwind. So you go chase segments when you have a tailwind?
No, but what we will
Just
do,
like every other person on there.
what we will do, we don't chase the segment. We don't. In other words, I'm not sitting at home going, you know what? Look at the wind. We need to go out and ride that section. I know people that
heard
do
you
that.
Tell me that.
I know people that do that. Alex Edwards in particular. But
Ooh, shots fired. Pew, pew.
no, it's not shot. He used to do it all the time up here. It's not that I look for that, but if we're on a ride and we've been fighting a headwind for a long time, and we just do the math. We're like, oh, okay, we're going to have a hell of a tailwind coming through here, and that's when all those Strava segments are. So, yeah, let's go see what we can do, a lot of times. Not all the time, but whatever. I just don't see how Garmin is going to compete with that. Namely because who the hell out there is uploading their information to Garmin who doesn't have a Garmin? Why would anybody want to do that? I mean, how many people have Wahoos now? A ton. Not to mention if they're using any other device, like they got the Hammerhead, that's the Karoo, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And whatever others, There's a lot of options out there now, and they're not uploading it all to Garmin. So why in the world would they did say they're offering tailored coaching and AI coaching and recommendations and all sorts of stuff through this service. I don't know. Maybe it will be helpful for somebody that's strictly in the Garmin universe, doesn't have a lot of social interactions with other people, and is just looking for training.
That's exactly me, and I would never use it.
Yeah. But
I would never use that.
And, if it was a couple bucks a month, I can see that. They're charging like $7 a month for this.
Jeez, what is Strava?
Probably about $7. No, I don't know. 10. I don't know. It just renewed for me. I think it was like $75 or something for the year.
I have to think that they are realizing that if people that are looking for the Facebook aspect of Strava. They're not necessarily going to all want to go do the Garmin Connect.
No.
So Garmin Connect paid service has to provide something a little bit better, more different. And what you just said about, maybe they're going to lean more heavily on the training insights side of things. And for people that don't have coaches, and that, maybe this is something that they might feel like they can put something in there that has more value to people for training, but still have a little bit of the social aspect, but that's not the most important point. Where, like you said, Tim, Strava's the Facebook. I mean, for me, that's what it is. I mean, I don't post the only rides I don't post any of my indoor rides, which is pretty much 99% of everything I'm doing these days. So I only put my outside rides on, and I love it when I have pictures I can put on there. And because I like to see that stuff from other people. I like to see what fun things people are doing and the fun pictures and stuff, so it's the Facebook aspect. I don't think they're going to get that from Garmin Connect, but I have to think that they kind of know that. So I mean, and they have said that the base Garmin app and everything that we get from it now for all of us that have Garmin devices is supposed to stay. The ability to create routes is going to stay on the free side. So they're not going to make you pay in order to do the route creation, which I was happy to see that, because I think they would lose a lot of people. That would be like, well, this is one of the things we do a lot of with the Garmin Connect is I do a lot of route creation.
So you like creating routes on Garmin. Tim likes not Tim. Anthony does a lot of route creation with Garmin. I use Strava for my route creation.
I use Ride with
I was going to say, I was going to guess you at Ride with
honestly,
GPS.
I use all three. It just depends. It depends on if I'm creating it from scratch, if I'm creating it for myself, or if I'm creating it for a whole group of people that are going to be on a lot of different devices. Because if I create it on Garmin, it's easy to just go to my computer. If I create it on Ride with GPS or Strava, I think it's easier for people with all the different devices out there to pull it onto their device. So
it shows up on my device with Strava or Garmin, really, either one of them. But
so
I would say
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Garmin Connect users aren't going to be forced into this Connect Plus, are they?
No.
So far, no.
Okay, good. Okay.
For route creation, though, me personally, I like the heat maps with Strava. So they have way more user data than Garmin does, even. So I think the heat maps are way better on Strava. And if I'm creating a route, it's a new route that I haven't ridden before. By God, I'm going to look at where riders go in that area. So
I agree with you
by that, but
I agree with you, but I feel like I have better fine control of where I'm going with the route creation with Garmin.
With Garmin, yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. Anyway, that's the route creator kind of thing. But I do think so. I mean, as far as Strava is concerned, I did look this up because I kind of wanted to read it. That last workout I did, because Strava has AI that they're using for coaching. You're already smiling because you already know. So for some reason when my Garmin uploads it just defaults to afternoon gravel ride because that was my setting, was gravel on my computer. Athlete intelligence, steady gravel ride with balanced power zones, hitting strong endurance efforts and maintaining consistent 45-minute power output. Cool. Oh, it says say more. I haven't done that before. Hold on. What's it say if I say more? It's thinking.
This is from what now?
Strava's
interpretation of my last.
They
Oh, here we go. Your 20-mile gravel ride in East Dundee showed consistent performance with your recent activities. At 145 watts, you were slightly below your typical 159-watt average. Your power curve highlighted endurance strength, particularly in the 45-minute and 1-hour efforts. The relatively low 51 relative effort suggests a moderate intensity ride across mostly active recovery and endurance zones. I did a threshold workout and then I just soft pedaled back. So this is completely useless in all forms, but I think we already knew that. So Strava is never really going to get the coaching thing, I don't think, personally.
No, which is why I think Garmin Connect's going to be going heavy on that side.
Oh shit! But I did become a local legend. So
oh my God, can I have your autograph?
From Otto to Longmeadow Bridge. So I got that going for me. I don't know if you guys know or not. I'm kind of a big deal now.
You're impotent.
I'm important.
If you want to get coached, get a coach.
Yeah, I like that. If you don't, in my opinion, if you don't get a coach and you go the electronic way or whatever, you like the Wise system. I think that I've never used it, but the Trainer Road setup that they have right now is very intriguing. But in my opinion, it's intriguing if you want to have really good beneficial gains with a ton of structure that is guaranteed to burn your ass out in the short term, But if you want to go full in structured training, I think that's if you're new to it and don't know yourself well, I think that's absolutely the best bang for the buck, in my opinion. Just because of the amount of algorithms they've spent time developing and everything else. I don't use them. It's not you guys both have kind of dead looks in your eyes.
Yeah, I've played around with. I did get a subscription to Trainer Road once, not because I wanted to use it for coaching specifically, but more because I was curious. I wanted to learn and understand it better because I have conversations with other people a lot.
Do you?
I do.
Wow. I thought you were the only
thing to do. Asked me for advice and what I think about this, that, or the other thing, which is, a big part of the reason why even back when we had the CompuTrainer studio and everybody was doing these workouts on Perf Pro and all this stuff, and you swore by it and said that you get a better quality workout with it. Using it, stuff like that. You and I would fight viciously about this, right? And we'd argue about it.
Still gonna fight you.
And I was like, you know what? I think I'm right, but I'm willing to try it. And I think I spent 2 full winters really digging into. I took the time to program my workouts into Perf Pro and did my workouts in the CompuTrainer studio in the afternoons when we were at work. And at the end of all of that, I decided that I was not a fan. It was way more bullshit to have to set up just to get on a damn bike and ride it. I don't need that for my own mental stimulation and my ability to do the work that I need to do. And I think that you lose the mental aspect of having to pay attention to your body, listen to your body, and adjust your output based on that. In addition to, you can watch your heart rate and your power meter and all that stuff, but you have to be in control of that because that's how it works in real life. And I've always been a huge proponent of that. But if there is an athlete that just struggles so hard mentally with getting there when they're indoors on a trainer, I would say it would be better to do the erg mode workouts than just do shitty workouts or none at all.
Yep.
No, you know what you do? You know what you do? You don't use erg mode because you don't race in erg mode.
I understand that.
I was seconding your point.
Right.
Here's what I'd say to the athlete that feels like they need to use erg mode. Just shave 10 watts off and do that. Do that till you're strong. Do that till you can do that consistently in all types of workouts. Skim, your FTP is probably too high. Set it a little lower.
I can totally see
and then get
the point in that.
Get there, get comfortable, and then progress. Don't use erg mode.
I can totally see the point in that, and I know why that would work. I can see that. I also will say that I was 100% erg mode, and now I do see the benefit in not riding in erg mode and I'm doing more and more interval workouts outside now. But that being said, the vast majority of people that come to our sport that aren't necessarily competing, they're just looking for workouts. They need erg mode without a doubt. It will.
I highly disagree.
They will not do the workout or get the workout or even be able to think about the workout unless they have erg
for whatever reason they just don't.
They mentally cannot do it.
Mental ability to do that. I have come to understand that, and that is where I think those tools can come in handy. But I do think that they all need to understand that there is that downside, what you're missing, the that mental workload. And I love your idea, Tim, of just lowering your power.
Yeah.
Because there is, I mean, they will say your indoor zones have a tendency to be different than your outdoor zones.
Yeah.
I don't find that to be true for myself, but for a lot of people, they do. You do.
Yeah.
So
for
yeah,
sure.
That's...
I would say my indoor zones are probably 5% below what my outdoor ones are, at least, if not bigger.
There's way more going on outside than there is inside. You're in a controlled environment inside.
Right.
You have no wind. Your terrain you're not even on terrain.
Right.
You know, you're not on a squishy path or bumpy concrete or anything like that. So yeah, it's going to be.
It's way different. I have the ability to produce more power outside than I do indoors, which goes along with what most people accept as the trend with that. So I'm not surprised by that, but I don't know how now we're talking about trainers. That was not on the...
it went off in another tangent there.
That was not on
that was fun.
list today.
Now we're getting into something that I get super passionate about, which is training modalities.
It's good because people need to know these
and we're
things.
still,
they might already know it, but
we're still on the trainers.
Don't know
At least most of us here in the Midwest are still on trainers.
But I think getting back to what we were talking about before, Wahoo System versus Trainer Road, I wanted to dig into Trainer Road at the time because they talked a lot about how they do their testing, how they do their zones, and how that links into the workouts. And I found it very fascinating and interesting. So I kind of wanted to play around with that, even though I have my own coach and I have my own training. So I'm not going to utilize it for myself. I don't know how, Tim, have you ever used Trainer Road at all, and to know how different it is from Wahoo?
No, I've never used Trainer Road. The system is the only one I've ever used.
Yeah.
Other than Zwift, and I mean, we all know that story. But system for me just works. I just like the structure of it. I like that there is a bazillion workouts to choose from, depending on where I feel or the weaknesses I feel like I need to work on at the time, or wherever I am in my training block. If it's crummy weather, I can say, okay, I got to do VO2 today. I can go down and choose from 25 different VO2 workouts.
But you're choosing that.
You're choosing it.
Do they have Trainer Road will actually create a whole? It will create a whole training plan for you. So
yes, you can go in there, and depending on what your focus is, if it's TT, if it's gravel, if it's crits, if it's road racing, you can set it all up. You could set your duration up. You can set your hours per week, how many times you want to work out. Do you want to incorporate, yoga in it? Do you want to incorporate strength in it? And you can set up this entire thing, and it will just, once you hit enter, it throws it all right on the calendar for you.
That's a lot of what Trainer Road does as well too. But they do. They also don't. They have multiple different ways of testing, or they now have a new algorithm where you don't even really have to do testing. And it's actually apparently fairly accurate. I like the idea of them. If I'm going to try something in the future, I'm probably going to try them. I just think it's just a really well thought out, heavy training regimen. It modifies based on what you've done automatically. The problem with that is that, like I said, it's probably the quickest way to burn out. Because for me personally, because there are days I just want to get on the bike and ride. And to me, there's not enough flexibility in that. It's like, well, did you do your training or not? And every time I get on a bike, I'm not going to be training.
What I like about the system is that, if you want to create a plan and you just want it to be riding, you can have it be just workouts. But they have their mental strength training portal, and it asks you if you want to do like some mental training exercises and incorporate that into your program. Like I said, it's got their strength portal. You can pick from that. You could say, I want that in my program. Their yoga portal, and they'll put that in your program. So you can build it to where it's not just cycling, it's mental work, it's strength and conditioning, it's stretching, and it's all just on top of the workouts. It's in there. So you're doing the riding, but you're also getting these other exercises that are off bike exercises, which are equally as important.
Absolutely. And I like that. I don't know if Trainer Road has stuff like that.
I don't know. At this point, I don't know. It's interesting, though. If you're listening to this and you use any of these systems, you have one particular one that you like over the other, or you got anything to throw into this conversation, by all means, send us an email. Roadisdead, all one word, @gmail.com. Roadisdead@gmail.com. Be sure to go over there and drop us a line. We'll discuss it. If you got some information you want to share with us, we'll bring it up and throw it out here.
I've tried to create a calendar or like something, but it's not been like in season, because I'm already racing, and I know through racing what my shortcomings are, and I work on them. The only time I've entertained like creating something is to get me through like the first bits of winter, where I just like, let me just focus on like maintaining my fitness, not necessarily like really building it in the early winter, but just like something to focus on, 2-3 weeks that I don't have to think about. I could just come down here and do what I want to do.
Yeah. That would be a good thing for me to do
through the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had conversations with friends too at that time. It's like, okay, it's off season, and even super experienced riders that will kind of look at me and be like, what do I do? Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Do I need to get a coach? Because I just really don't know what to do. That's a weird time of year, because we're so used to a lot of structure through all the race season, which is a lot of the year. And all of a sudden, we get to a place where we know we're supposed to be doing off season, but what exactly is it that we're supposed to be doing? And if it's just like, just go ride base miles, it's like, that's
that can get old,
but it gets old, and I want to do that, but I also get to a place where I need something to focus on. I need a focus, even if all I'm doing is focused cadence sets or something. I need there to be some structure to some of my rides. It doesn't have to be VO2 stuff, but I need something.
Yeah. No, I was doing, even after like a week off from the cross season, I started doing high intensity stuff. Like I did it like once a week. I'm just like, I'm going to keep this pencil from getting completely dull, so that when it comes time to really like pile it on, I'm not like regretting it or afraid of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think when you don't do high intensity and you just focus on all the base miles, your natural instinct is to be afraid of the high intensity stuff and getting into that, because it never feels good.
Yep.
No matter how much you do it, it never feels good. But you have to do it.
Yeah, no, it's always, for me, I don't do what you're talking about, Tim, and that kind of like gives me some thought that maybe I need to pencil that in a little bit, because it is always really hard when I go from base to base to, we're going to do 2-minute hard efforts. And it's like, oh my God.
I think the best thing to do in that situation, if that is how your program is structured, is when it's your first time doing that, just throw all expectation for the 2-minute out the window.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Just do it. Do the effort in its entire duration.
Yeah.
Whatever the power is.
Right.
Let the power be that. Because the next time you go back and do the 2-minute duration, it'll be a little higher. You just have to do the first session.
Yes. And that is exactly, I just got back from from Arizona, I did, an absolute, a crap ton, 32 hours of zone 2 riding down there. And then I come back and it's like, all right, I want you to do 6 by 5 minutes hard. And I was like, okay, how hard? And, well, like zone 4 to zone 5. It's like, oh my God. I don't even know what those power numbers are going to look like for me right now. And I was just like trying to figure it out. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to shoot low because I can always go up from there. And I need the confidence to build with me. I don't need to go in thinking I can hold this power and then fall apart halfway through and then start doubting everything. So,
in that instance, what I would do if I were you, don't even look at your power number. Just get your heart rate in zone 4 and 5 and keep it there. Just don't even look at the power number. Get your heart rate there.
It takes a minute and a half for my heart rate to come up to where it needs to be.
The drift.
So
the cardiac drift.
I actually go by RPE more than anything.
Okay.
I kind of I peek at it when I first get started into it because I have a tendency to start out way too high because you're feeling good right at the start of an interval. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick it right there. I think that's a little on the low side. And now I'm just not going to look at it for the rest of this 5 minutes. I'm going to go by feel. And I might peek at it once or twice in the second half just to kind of see where I ended up on the back half to know, then for the next interval, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that for the whole first half of my workout. And then when I get to interval number 4, okay, I've been finishing all of these, a solid 20 watts higher than where I started. So let's start one at that level and see what happens now because I'm feeling a little bit more confident. And I'm in the back half of the workout now. So if I mess one up,
you got some good quality work in before that. But even it's not even bad to go into a workout and not say, I need to hit this power number for this duration. Give yourself a range in power.
Yeah.
Just give yourself a 20 watt range. I don't want to go below this and I don't want to go above this. If I marinate it right in the middle, mission accomplished.
Right. Yeah, but I always do well personally by not staring at the numbers. And sometimes I really surprise myself and put out a lot more power than I thought I could because I just went by feel.
It's funny how that happens, right?
Yeah.
You see a number that's not as high as what your RPE, and you're just like, you get deflated. But then sometimes when your RPE isn't off the charts, but your power's high, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. let me step on the gas a little bit.
But then oftentimes in those last couple of intervals, it's just like my RPE feels like my power's up here, and I look down and it's actually down here, and it's like, okay, that's
fatigue.
But that's fatigue, and that's expected.
Yeah. But that's the one reason why I love doing workouts that are just specific on the trainer.
Yes.
It really just teaches you how to limit yourself. It teaches you how to pace yourself. It teaches you how to pace certain duration of efforts depending on what kind of zone you're hitting. It teaches you that where, you try to do it outside in an outdoors environment, which can be done, but conditions are never duplicated outdoors what they are indoors, so you can be more consistent and get a more consistent feel indoors versus outdoors, because you never have a perfectly flat course to do your intervals on. You're always going to go into some sort of wind. There's always going to be, a car that gets in your way, or traffic, or a turn here or a turn there. So it's never perfect. Whereas if you do it just as monotonous as they are and you sit on a trainer, you can really teach yourself what certain efforts feel like.
Yeah.
And granted, they will be different. They will, to what Rob said earlier, they'll be different and feel different outdoors.
Yeah.
For sure. But it at least teaches you that.
All right. Well,
and not erg mode.
You guys like training, so you talked about training a bit.
What do you want to talk about?
I like the industry and technology, so I do want to kind of wrap this on industry and technology with a few minutes left.
Yawn.
Yeah, well, the tariffs that have been imposed are pretty much slated to destroy the cycling industry. Just FYI. So
That's news.
it is now.
We all knew that.
It is now for two major reasons.
Everything comes out of China.
Eeyore has entered the chat.
No, sorry. I'm not the only one.
Leah, nice one.
I'm not the only one saying that.
Debbie Downer. Whoa.
Borealis Fat Bikes has already said that they will not buy any bicycles this year. So they have stopped purchasing bicycles for this model year. They're going to sell.
Never even heard of them.
They're common fat bike. They are going to sell what they have on hand through this year and debate whether or not they are going to buy again next year or just simply fold. A lot of larger OEMs are now saying around the same kind of thing. So like your mid-sized OEMs, brands that you don't hear a lot of, but do exist and do have a decent following. They're trying to figure out ways to combine and go together to help minimize some of this impact. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much every bike and every part is going to go up a significant amount of money, at least 25 to 30%, 40% in some cases. So I don't know if you're worried about that kind of stuff. I don't recommend, stockpiling, but if you're looking at some repair parts, we're getting all the signals that we got at the beginning of the pandemic. So it will be a massive change to the industry, just a matter of what that looks like at the end of days. Also, once again, the de minimis exemption is once again out. And that is the idea that anything that you import into this country under $800 pretty much didn't have a tariff or anything imposed on it. And that has once again been removed. So what that means for anybody listening to this is if you're getting all snappy buying, Chinese rims overseas or, buying parts even on eBay from Japanese sellers, what have you, because they usually have Shimano stuff in stock, you are going to get hit with those tariffs when they come in. By the way, it won't show up on your bill when you check out at your dealer. So when you're buying, to try to educate people who've never imported anything, you're like, oh, well, it must not pertain because, here's my bill and it wasn't on there. So you won't get hit by that bill. The U.S. Postal Service says that they're going to institute the tariff up to 25 to $40 per item. They're going to max out there and they're going to do it. They have dates for when they're rolling it out. Every other service, when it comes in, you get it delivered to you, and then after the fact, you will get a bill. And that bill can show up a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, whatever. But you're going to get a bill in the mail, and it's going to be for your duties and tariffs that you now owe. And you're not going to be aware of it. And if you buy a bunch of stuff and you don't think it's that big of a deal, you're going to get a bunch of different bills from a bunch of different places. And it's all going to be rolled out differently. Some people may actually hold your product like a COD, where you got to show up with a money order or what have you in order to pay for your stuff to do it. That is what it is like importing product and has been like that. I've been importing off and on for 15 years, 20 years almost. And it's always been a crapshoot. It depends on how everything gets placed on the invoice and what harmonized tariff code gets associated with the product. Because believe it or not, it's not straightforward when it comes to bike parts, and there's not one category for it. And believe it or not, the people that are charged with determining what it is and what you owe know nothing about bicycles. So, and whatever they decide it is, that's what it is. So in some instances, I've had very low tariffs. In other instances, it's like, hey, this shouldn't have a tariff, but they're like, yeah, it's this. So you got 20% tariff thrown on there. So it's just going to be a crapshoot. So if you're buying a lot of onesie twosie, what this is aimed at doing is getting rid of like the Temu and whatever the Alibaba kind of stuff, where you can just buy whatever you want overseas and have it show up at your door, and you don't have to pay anything extra for it. The way it's going to hit the bike industry is that our industry for a very long time, a lot of Chinese companies have been selling direct to consumer in the U.S. market while showboating and kind of on their front end looking like they're U.S. based companies. And you're going to get hit with those purchases when you buy that stuff and it shows up. So just FYI.
Are they required to let people know when they're making a purchase?
Absolutely not.
They're going to get hit with
It's not their problem.
Oh,
You're not. They're just
I would be
exporting.
pissed.
You know,
I'd be so mad.
as a business, if somebody in another country buys something from me, I'm going to charge them an amount, and then I'm going to charge them my shipping, whatever it costs. Now, and I ship a lot. I've shipped often to Canada over the years, and Canada has always been this way. And a lot of buyers in Canada will be like, "Hey, am I going to have to pay a tariff for this or that or what?" And their tariffs have been high for a long time. And my response has always just been like, "Dude, I don't know. You know, that's your problem that you got to deal with." And I've heard stories, people get the item and then, a week later they'll get a bill for it, or a month later they'll get a bill for it. Sometimes it gets held at the post office and they have to go show up with a money order and get it out of the post office. So it's how other countries have lived for a very long time. We're just, our consumer public is not ready for it in this country. I can tell you that. It is nothing new. I don't know why anybody thinks that this is going to work in any way, shape, or form. A couple of industry leaders in the cycling industry have flat out said, yeah, obviously the idea is to move some manufacturing back to the U.S. Our industry, it is absolutely 100% unfeasible to do that for the vast majority of products that we rely on. So, hey, it is what it is. We're just going to pay a fuck ton more money for all the parts that we buy. So, especially tires. Can you imagine? I mean, we're not making tires in this country. Come on. There's a lot of stuff that we just won't make. We're not going to make any of the Shimano stuff here. Most of the SRAM stuff is made out of country, so all that stuff's going to get hit too. Just the way of the world, when globalism gets screwed in the butt. Anyway, not a political thing. I'm just saying that this is the way it's going to work. But that's your nice thought. I can tell you what is not going to have a tariff though. Buttonhole chamois cream. It is made in the USA. Even says so right here on each of the new labels, a little American flag there. It says made in the USA. It is formulated here locally in the Chicagoland area. We package it here in East Dundee and put the labels on and do all that. The labels are made, a couple towns over. The plastics were made down in St. Charles, just down the road. So it is a 100% U.S. made product. So no tariffs, unless you're buying it from another country and I got to ship it to you. But, hey, that's not my problem. So go out and buy yourself some Buttonhole chamois cream. Also, if you are going to Rough Road this weekend, we are a sponsor of Rough Road, where if you end up on a podium, you might end up with a jar of chamois cream in some way, shape, or form. So if you haven't tried chamois cream, go out and try it, and support your local shop. Go out and buy it from them. That way they don't have to pay any tariffs to get it in stock. So apart from that, unless anybody's got anything else to add, I'm getting a weird stare from you.
Nothing like ending on a high note, but
that was a high note. Go out and buy some Buttonhole chamois cream.
Well, yeah.
Support your local shop.
That's always good.
Yeah, no, that is.
If you have any ideas or any comments, go ahead and send them to roadisdead@gmail.com.
The UCI is limited tire width to 30 millimeters.
What?
Yep.
What?
On the road.
What?
Mm-hmm. They just threw out a new rule ahead of Paris-Roubaix because dudes were testing 40 mils.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they threw out a new rule. Road tires can't be any wider than 30.
You know what? It's road. Make it as fast as you can make it. Then again, though, they do have all sorts of rules for position and aero helmets, and
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's not out of hand to do some of this, but whatever. Yeah. All right, well, we'll go on that note. Thanks for sharing that, Tim. All right. Well,
bet.
enjoy it out there. We'll talk to you next week. Hopefully, we'll have some updates on some races and enjoy your ride.
Adios.